Hi everybody, this is Jessica Boss here, helping you be the boss in your life. Welcome to I Spy a Trafficker. So we've talked about different signs of traffickers and maybe a couple of tactics that they do. Another tactic that traffickers do is they try to take away your personal identification, whether that is your driver's license, your passport, or your ID. And none of this is ever okay. What they used to do is they start off trying to, small talk you. They might ask you, how old are you? Oh, you're 16? You're so mature for your age. You're so mature. You're in your mid-20s. And of course when you're that young, that's like a dream to hear, because you don't want to be considered a child. And when you're 16, the last thing you want somebody to say is, oh, you look like you're 12. That is an insult for women of that age, young ladies of that age. Anyways, so they might say that, and then, I don't believe you. Let me see your ID. And they now have your personal ID in their hand, and then they can confiscate it from you. There's no reason that a man has to physically see your ID in order to believe your age. If he's not a police officer or somebody who's requesting to see your personal ID because of, reasons like, you get stopped by the cops, you can't deny, you can't not show it, blah, 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 you get it. But if he's not a law enforcement agent and he's asking you for your ID because he doesn't believe your age, all you have to do is say, yeah, that's how old I am. I don't lie about my age. I know how old I am. Don't give up your ID. Never give somebody your ID, especially if you don't trust them. It's a fine line, because I know that, when you buy alcohol, they take your ID in stores. That's different. I'm not addressing that. That's a whole different scenario. So I know it might sound like it's just like black and white, but it's when a man approaches, or a person, not just a man, sorry, when a person approaches and they don't know you and you don't know who they are or what they're wanting from you, and then all of a sudden they're wanting to see your ID, don't give them your ID. That's the one thing that they can use as leverage against you. When they take your ID away from you, you become susceptible to being at their mercy. Because if you're found without an ID, let's say they end up selling you, God forbid, but they end up selling you to a madam or a pimp, there's no way to identify you. That's when it becomes increasingly difficult for those agents to find you, because they don't have any access to your information. There's a reason why they take your ID. There's a reason why the first thing that they want to do is take your ID away, because it renders you nameless in a sense, and it makes it harder for you to be found and easier for them to take advantage. If somebody is posing, because this happens too, if somebody's posing as a law enforcement agent, always look for the badge. If they don't have their badge on them, or I think police officers have to have some kind of ID themselves identifying that they are officers. If they can't show that to you and they're dressed as police officers, because by law I think police officers are required to show it when you ask. If they don't show you these things, you don't see a badge, you don't see that they're real police officers, run or drive away. Whatever, if you're in a car, drive away. If you are on foot, run as far as you can to where there's a lot of people that can help protect you, because that's somebody that's posing, and this is another game they do. So you just want to make sure that you are on the safe side and not becoming the victim, because it's so easy for these people to fake their way through any story to get you to do what they want. And it's not right. And the fact of the matter is, they're very manipulative. They're very good at what they do. That's why they haven't been caught, unfortunately. And as we know, things in the sex trafficking world that's so underground, it's already challenging to even find these people. So use precaution when encountering strangers that all of a sudden have an interest in you. If they think that you're underage and they want to see IDs, what business is it of theirs? Why do they need to see your ID? And they'll do it charmingly to make it seem like they're joking with you and having fun. There's no reason you ever have to pull out your ID if somebody asks you for it, unless there's a law enforcement agent who's specifically requesting. Then in that case, 100% pull it out, don't even flinch. Just always comply and do what is said. Because remember, you can always fight. If something is weird, you can always fight it legally the right way by putting in a claim. I know it might take longer, but it keeps you out of trouble. Anywho, but yeah, you never have to surrender your passports to people. There are ways that are sneaky that people can request it. Like for example, if let's say there's a trafficker and they're promising you employment, and they request to have them hold on to your documents and your passport ID, whatever the case may be, because they're afraid you might lose it. Because if you lose it, then there goes your job opportunity. Actually, in the film that I wrote, that I'm producing right now, the anti-sex trafficking film, the person does it in a sneaky way where, you know, the character that I play, you know, she can't find her ID. So after she gives the ID to the hotel concierge, the trafficker intercepts it and says, you know what, I'll hold on to this because I don't want you to lose out on opportunities because you misplaced this. Because if you misplace this, then there's no jobs. And it sounds very legitimate. I mean, it's like, yeah, I know I'm bad at, you know, I often lose things. So yeah, it sounds legitimate. But on the other hand, one can say, well, what do you need my ID for? I can hold it right here in my purse. I keep it safe, and just say politely, you know what? I need my ID. And since you're in front of somebody, like, you know, if you're in front of a person in public, you can rally that person to give you your ID, and you have other witnesses that might actually back you up. And if they're insistent on, no, but I need your ID, I need to have it, I need to make sure that you don't lose it, because I tell you, the more aggressive they're being, the more they're trying to intimidate you. And if they're trying to intimidate you, it's because you're challenging them and they're used to just people who will just like kind of lay back and just surrender it. But that's a red flag right there in itself, that they're being aggressive for something that you have every right to hold on to. It's your ID, it's the way to identify yourself. And technically, you're not even supposed to walk outside without having your ID on you. You could be walking in the neighborhood, and if you don't have your ID and you get stopped for jaywalking, that's a serious offense. So you have every right to hold on to your identification. So if they're being insistent that you surrender it, that's a red flag that maybe you don't take it out or don't give it up to them. If they're wanting to see it and they're being insistent that they have to have it and have to hold on to it for you, that's red flag number 2. Because the fact of the matter is, your ID is for you personally. You're responsible for your ID. You're the one who's supposed to hold on to it. Nobody else is responsible for your ID. I think maybe parents might, be able to hold their kids' ID, but even then, kids have IDs. Those are red flags that you want to heed. Never give up your ID. Even if somebody says, oh, I want to see it, unless they have legitimate reasons to see it, and I mean they have to be legitimate reasons. It can't just be a person you just met off the street wanting to prove that you're a certain age. They'll have to just take your word for it. That's it. If your word's not good enough, then say, well, I could be lying, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I guess you'll never find out. And be just as charming with them and see how they respond. If they're still aggressive, stay away. Stranger danger, stranger danger. But in all seriousness, never surrender your ID to anybody unless they're an employee at a store who's requesting it for whatever reason, or a job employment from trusted people that need to have a copy. But if they try to pocket it, then you call them out on it, and don't be afraid to call them out on it. If you're with somebody and it's just you and them and they want to see your ID, don't take it out, because then there's no way for you to get it back. There's no one else that is around for you to say, hey, he just took my ID, and to maybe use the other person as a block. If you're by yourself, just don't surrender it. Keep your ID with you. Never give up your ID to anybody. Unless, of course, the other reasons. You get it, guys. Okay, that's it for now. Y'all, if you found this helpful, please let me know in the comments, or tell me if you didn't. Tell me any sort of situation that you've encountered. Has anyone ever tried to take your ID and pocket it, or succeeded in keeping your ID? I want to know. Comment below. And this is Jessica Boss, helping you be the boss in life. Y'all take care, be safe, and until next time, bye-bye.